Hey, fellow mathers, the wait is over. Register today for your Building Powerful Mathematics workshop.
Y'all, registration is only open 3 times a year, and you don't want to miss out.
Visit mathisfigureoutable.com/action to select your choice of workshop. You'll gain access to world-class professional development with me that will help you make a lasting impact in your students' lives.
Save your spot at mathisfigureoutable.com/action. We'll see you on the inside.
Hey, fellow mathers, welcome to the podcast where math is figure-outable. I'm Pam Harris, a former mimicker turned mather.
And I'm Kim Montague, a reasoner who now knows how to share her thinking with others. At Math is Figureoutable, we are on a mission to improve math teaching.
Y'all, we know that algorithms are amazing human achievements, but they are terrible teaching tools because mimicking step-by-step procedures can actually trap students into using less sophisticated reasoning than the problems are intended to develop.
In this podcast, we help you teach mathing, building relationships with your students, and grappling with mathematical relationships.
We invite you to join us to make math more figure-outable.
Hey there.
Hey, Kim.
It's school time.
Indeed. School is on.
I sometimes forget that you aren't in the day-to-day of that because I see you all the time.
Because my kids are old.
Well, and I knew you with your kids. So anyway, school's been going on with us. I just said I knew you with your kids. Like you don't have kids anymore. I mean,
now I have
school with
grandkids.
Me.
I have grandkids now.
I know.
So my kids are too old and my grandkids are too young.
Yeah.
They're not in school at the moment.
So it's been going on for a little bit. And it struck me the other day. I sent an email to my kids' teachers. And when my kids were younger, like in elementary school, and I would walk into campus with them and the supplies and whatever, and I would meet the teachers, I would say to them, when I had left the classroom, I would say to them, like, I get it, like the beginning of the year is nuts. And, but like I teach math and, would kind of form a relationship with them and maybe would like say, hey, if you want to come in, I can do something. But now that my kids are in high school, the email is more like, hey, I know that you teach high school and you get nothing for school supplies. What do you need? And the funny thing is,
that's nice of you to do that.
Well, I mean, it's, like I want them to know that they can listen. But I think now this is
what do they ask for? I got to know.
Tissues. I heard back from a couple of teachers. Every single one of them said tissues. Nothing else.
Like Kleenex tissues.
Yeah. Nothing
else. Central Texas allergies are so bad? Is that?
I think it's because they don't have anything and nobody wants to watch kids wipe their snot on their shirt. It's gross.
Well, that would be true. Yuck. Yum.
Yeah. So nothing else. All they want is tissues. Anyway.
So do you send tissues?
Oh yeah. I'm going to go to like Costco, which is like, if you don't know Costco, it's like a big warehouse thing. And I'm going to buy bulk tissues and drop them off. Yeah.
Well, they'll be very
grateful.
But
part of it is also to say like, hey, I'm a, I think kind of normal parent. And if my kids are acting a fool, like, let me know. I'll fix that. Anyway.
You support them. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good to start a relationship.
I'm a huge teacher fan. Anyway, but what I would kind of talk to the elementary teachers differently because I had been there and, I'd kind of engaged a little bit in math conversation with them. But with high school, I realized like, I don't sometimes know how to describe what we do or like math is figureoutable. It's like, it's, I guess, a cool name, but that doesn't really tell anybody anything. So anyway,
it's kind of a cool, it's more than a cool name.
It is very
math
cool.
It's not rote memorizable. It's figureoutable.
Well, so anyway, what I was realizing was that without a longer conversation, I don't really know how to say to a math teacher in high school, this is what we believe or what we do. So anyway, it was occurring to me because I just sent the email and I knew we were going to talk about it today. So this episode is going to be in part for leaders of professional learning, professional development, and also for teachers of math. And you've had some experiences lately that I think would be important to share.
And I think maybe you're getting at like when you just said you're not quite sure how to describe what we do succinctly. What do we do here at Math is Figureoutable? Maybe succinctly. And yeah, that's not trivial. I think when people recognize, listeners, you can tell us when you hear the podcast, you might be like, oh yeah, these guys, they do some math and we chat about some math and it's, it's just I don't know, we have good banter. And so that's, it's a pleasant podcast. But maybe if you've listened for a little while, you realize that what we do is a little different, at least from the way we were taught math growing up.
Mhm.
And when you realize that maybe we're a little different than, I don't know, the way you were taught growing up, you might be tempted to put us kind of in a camp, like a group of people. You might be tempted to say, oh, okay, they're like inquiry based or constructivist, and you might even think, oh, they're fluffy and it's all about play, or, we don't actually have to get kids, to do anything, whatever. Many of us learned more when we became teachers. And we made connections and got some conceptual understanding, if that's the way to say it.
Mhm.
And so we, as teachers, were like, whoa, like we can understand more. We want to give that to our kids, but yet still have the goal of the kids getting to the steps, memorizing the algorithms, that the goal
Mhm.
is to get answers. And so, sure, let's get some conceptual understanding, but because then they'll do the steps better, they'll perform the algorithms better.
Mhm.
And you might think about, if you're like, oh, but you guys are a little bit different. So yeah, you're in that camp that says, get some understanding first, and then you can, but your goal is still to then get to mimicking steps.
Mhm.
However, kind of like Kim, like you were just saying, succinctly, what would we talk about what we do? We are different in a major way.
Mhm.
That our goal at Math is Figureoutable isn't to get some conceptual understanding so that kids can then answer questions performing the steps, mimicking the steps, like doing the steps of algorithms. Not our goal.
Mhm.
We think that as an end goal, that landing there, making that the goal, that mimicking steps to get answers, that actually is detrimental. And so this is subtle. It's a subtle kind of, if what you think about math education is to get, of course you're going to get there, but hey, we're going to get there better, then you might think that we're in that camp. And so go ahead.
Can I, yeah. I want to hang for just a second on the fact that you said detrimental,
Mm,
because you're not saying just like, hey, make sure kids understand and then give them the choice, or be okay with however they land. You're saying it's actually harmful to their mathematical journey to propose that that's what they do, is land on a series of steps to solve problems.
yes. And as you were saying it, I wondered if I was going to say it can be detrimental, but I'm going to say it is detrimental. Like
Mhm.
I could
Mhm.
have softened that a little bit to say, well, it
Mhm.
might not be, some kids, but I'm going to say even those students who see that your end goal is to be algorithmic and choose or that you show them the steps and say our end goal is that you mimic these steps to get answers. They could have been doing more real mathing if you hadn't spent time doing that.
Mhm.
If you had spent time differently, they could have done more real mathing sooner, faster, and better, if we'd done other things. So yes, I'm going to say categorically detrimental.
And one more clarification.
Hmm.
When your goal is conceptual based and you want understanding, and then you say, maybe my goal wasn't to teach algorithms, but the kids came with that, or they were taught that at home. So I'm just going to say, okay, so they're good. I'm going to like, they've got something.
I'm going to leave them there.
Would you say that's also detrimental?
Yeah, because that was me.
Okay.
Like I had the algorithms down cold,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
well,
Yep.
and not only was I, because I often say mimicking steps of the algorithms, I was thinking through the steps of the algorithms. Like I could have
Mhm.
told you why they worked and how they worked,
Mhm.
but I wasn't mathing. I wasn't doing
Right.
the mental
Right.
actions that I now know I could have been,
Yeah.
and that's the goal that I'm trying to
Okay.
help everybody. And this became a whole lot more clear recently, and I wanted to chat with you about it
Yep.
at some conferences. So I've been in a lot of conferences. There's a lot of conferences over the summer. And to be really clear, I've been at a lot of conferences. So nobody
Yeah.
is going to be able to pin down.
We've missed
Um,
you.
yeah, it's been a busy time. Great time. Fantastic
Yep.
time. I've had a wonderful time interacting with a lot of really cool people. So I'm gonna kind of do an amalgamation. I'm gonna pull together a lot of experiences.
Mhm.
So you might have been at a conference with me, and you might have been sitting in a session with me, and you might go, "Who? I wonder if she's talking about this session." And the answer to that would be no, because I'm pulling together lots of sessions that I was in. I'm also not talking about lots of sessions that I was in. So to be really clear, nobody can tell who I'm actually referring to.
Okay.
because it's a combination. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yep.
But the combination, there was a pattern. And I'd like to talk about that pattern that I saw. So in that pattern, I want to share it so that we can all get more clear on our message at Math is Figureoutable and how it's different than some of the other messages that you might be hearing. So I'm going to kind of talk about a specific session I was in as if it was a session, but again, it was a combination. So picture a session. It's a featured speaker. It's right before the featured speaker that I'm about to do. So I'm in the room to kind of get a feel for the room. I'm looking at the connections and stuff. I'm going to be able to get my tech set up, and what's the room look like, making sure that I'm going to look right. Kim, that if I'm going to do anything wrong in a presentation, I won't look right. So I'm telling myself, I have these little notes to myself, look right. In other words, I will call on people more on my left than I will on my right if I don't think about it. So that's one thing that I'm trying to be. Anyway, so I'm looking around the room, whatever, and I'm excited. Hadn't heard this particular presenter before, kind of an up and coming. And this could be true for, again, this is a combination, right? Combinations of sessions. So often I see that a feature speaker might do something like this. Tell us the math. So if they do any math at all, often the presenter will tell us the math. They'll say, so we know that this is true. And then they will sort of state some math. Then the person might say something like, here's a really cool student task that I've used that could work really well to get kids to actually understand, get some conceptual understanding. And then I'm thinking of a particular one. It was actually not too bad, like the student task. But it was really interesting that the presenter shows us the student task rather than engaging us in the student task. Hey, everybody, to do this, try this. Now, I get that because sometimes it doesn't work really well. You might not have the I was going to say equipment. Is that the right word? You might not have the manipulatives or the graphing calculator or the like pick your thing, the graph paper, whatever it is. You might not have that handy. And so it might not be, like the particular task that you've chosen to do in a big ballroom with a lot of people. But it's kind of noteworthy. You've chosen a task that you to tell us about.
Yeah.
So now we're all sitting there and we're being shown. I would have the kids do this, then I would have the kids do this. And to be clear, one of the ones I'm talking about was a high school task where we all could have dove in and found some patterns. So the way the task was set up was the kids dove in, did some things, found some patterns, had an experience, collected some data. In fact, I should have said collected some data and noticed some patterns and then made generalizations based on those patterns. And I was like, it's not actually too bad of an experience, an activity for kids. And in the moment, I thought to myself, oh, it's almost too bad we didn't do that. I would have liked to have done that. I would have liked to have seen what my brain would have done. When would I have noticed the pattern? What kind of generalizations would I have made? Even though, to be really clear, I knew that math, but I think it would have been worth doing. Anyway, so then several of these presenters kind of did the same thing, told us some math, then showed us something that we could do with kids, kind of told us what we could do with kids. And even though that thing might have been pretty good, then say something like, now that we have conceptual understanding, now it's time to memorize the rules. And I think of one specific literally said something like, okay, now that we kind of understand what's going on, now it's totally fine to just, here are the rules. Now I'm going to give kids these rules, but y'all, there's a lot of rules here. And so since there's a lot of rules, now we're going to help kids memorize the rules. And I just kind of sat back in my chair and I thought, okay, good. Like right now in this, we are clear on what you think teaching math is. And several of these presenters said something like, when I was a kid, I was just given the rules and I was just told to memorize the rules. It is better if we get some conceptual understanding first, see how we do this. And, but then we're going to memorize the rules. We're going to repeat those rules. And so I was like, okay, at least I'm clear now on this person's perspective.
Right.
And Kim, I think I would agree that if I think the end goal is for kids to rote memorize these rules and mimic them, then yes, it would be better to get some conceptual understanding and then do that.
Yeah. I think
not my goal, not our goal.
Yeah. And I think it's really important. I was just sitting here thinking, like, why is it so important for you and for me to make sure that people understand or have heard us describe why what we're talking about is different? And I think it's because if you have a different belief, then maybe it's okay that you do something different. But we want to make sure that people understand that what we're doing matches maybe a different belief system than, like you said earlier, there's like maybe this giant camp of like maybe not traditional, but a whole bunch of other stuff. And we want to make sure that the belief and the intention matches up with what we're doing. And maybe there are some people in this kind of giant camp of some inquiry that also have a different belief. There's maybe like a little bit more of a separation. And so I think it's
So
important.
don't lump us all together. Is kind of what you're
Right. And
saying.
I think
Yeah.
it's important for people to know, like, even within that there's more to just to dig into. And it's maybe not like, oh, they're wrong or they're right. It's like dig in more. Find out what you believe and don't assume everybody's the same.
Yeah, and maybe another way to put that is you might listen to our podcast, read our books, do our workshops, join our coaching group, and you might initially go, "Oh yeah, these guys are great. They have some ideas, they have some tricks, they have some things to try, they have some ways to tweak," and then have the completely understandable, because then it will help us gain some conceptual understanding so that then the kids can memorize and repeat
Right.
the rules better. What we're suggesting today is we invite you to consider that that's not actually who we are, what we do. We're not just a bit of do a little bit better here, and our end goal is still the same. We have a different end goal. One of the particular sessions that I was in, after the presenter said something like, "Okay, good. Now that we've got some conceptual understanding, now it's perfectly okay to give kids the rules because we know they're just going to repeat these efficient rules to get answers. That's our goal." I'll push back on that idea that they are efficient in a big, huge way. And then a couple of times the presenter did something kind of cute. So I can think of one where the presenter showed us, actually had us get up and do some kind of a dance to help us remember the rules. And it was sort of this physical thing. And that's like, you could say, "Oh, that's using brain science, because if we get physical, then we'll remember the rules better." Again, that's assuming that our goal is to remember the rules,
Right.
to mimic the steps. And then in another session, the presenter had something similar with this kind of mnemonic memory device, and then said to the kids, "Go create your own mnemonic memory device and turn that in as an assignment." Now that feels kind of cool because now the kids are able to use their creativity. Oh, finally, we figured out how to use creativity in math class. But again, all of that still was creativity toward how could you memorize these rules different or better so that you can mimic, so you
Yeah.
can follow the steps to get answers.
Yeah.
So what if our goal isn't to mimic rules to get answers? And that's kind of what I'm hoping this episode could be a little bit about, is we could sort of parse out some of these sessions that I've just seen and heard. And y'all, you can listen to what we say and you can go, "I don't know, Pam and Kim, I kind of like your fluff. I kind of like your stuff, the little tricks that you do. It's making my class better enough." I do think that the end goal is for kids to do the rules, so they can get answers. That is the goal. Okay, well, then you're welcome here.
Yeah.
As long as you're kind of clear, we just want to, I would like you to be clear that I've learned there is a different set of mental actions that mathy people actually do. And the good news is we can actually do that ourselves and help our students do that. And now we're all doing the mental actions that mathy people actually do. And then now we're all mathy people.
Yeah.
There's not a math gene. We're all mathy people. We can all be mathy people. And the good news is we can do that. So that is, I don't know if that is helpful. It's a huge sort of shift. So Kim, I'd like to kind of dive into 2 ways that we can sort of learn from these experiences that I've just kind of had.
Sure.
So one is leaders. Now, teachers, don't tune out quite yet, but leaders specifically, let's stay with you for a second. When you do professional learning, I invite you to consider that you could actually have your teachers dive into the same kinds of learning experiences that you want your students to that you're telling them to have their students dive into. In other words, if you say, "Hey teachers, it's really better to have your students experience the math," instead of telling them that, help them experience that. Help them just like we want teaching to not be telling. We want teaching to not be telling. We want teaching math to be helping kids experience. We want teaching to help teachers experience. So don't show, experience.
Yeah. You
And
mentioned
go ahead.
in the examples that you gave
Mhm.
that some presenters showed the math and then said, "This is what I show the kids." And maybe they don't quite mean show, but I'm struck by a comment that we just got in our coaching Facebook group that a incredible person said, My kids already know the algorithms. Do I still show them strategies? And I think
And that word pinged for you, show.
it did, and it did, and it's pinging for me now because I think that's another thing that we push hard on, that it's not about showing.
Yeah,
But
so what I
getting
think what we would
experiences.
say is we don't care what your kids come in with. We're going to develop in their brains
Mhm,
mathematical relationships and
mhm,
connections, which leads to them using strategies.
mhm,
And a way that we develop those relationships and connections is by helping develop the strategies. We
mhm,
develop those relationships and connections so the strategies become kind of their natural inclination, their
mhm,
natural outcome. And that, yes, we would absolutely do that because our goal is to develop kinds of reasoning, not just having them get answers. So it's almost like this very good person that you're saying said
mhm,
something like, but if my kids can get answers, do I still help them develop the necessary mathematical reasoning? And the answer to that is yes.
mhm.
Just because kids can get answers
Yeah,
doesn't mean that we've done our goal of helping them create reasoning.
yeah, and that doesn't happen by showing them things.
Yeah.
You're not gonna
Yeah.
show some strategies and say, like, "These are great and you can use them." We have to develop them within students.
Yeah, which is not trivial. And so we're not going to do a lot of in this episode of what we do to develop,
Yeah.
but we'll give you some ideas. But so leaders, we would suggest that you engage teachers in the experience of learning about teaching. And one way to do that is to watch video of expert teachers in classrooms. One of the things that we do in our journey teacher coaching is that we reflect on teachers in classrooms with kids, and we reflect on that teaching together. We do that. It's one way that we do that. Another way that we do that is when we plan our Building Powerful Mathematics asynchronous workshops. It's not me sitting at a computer talking to a screen, and so that when you're involved in that workshop, you're just listening to me talk at you. It is literally a live 2-day workshop where I'm interacting with teachers, and it's as if you are there. We're doing the mathematics. We're diving in and building teachers pick it, additive reasoning, multiplicative reasoning, proportional reasoning. And then as we're building that reasoning, then we step out and review what we've just done to then talk about the teacher moves that I just used in that mathing, and we identify then those pedagogical kinds of things. And
Mhm,
so when we plan PD, leaders highly encourage you to think about engaging your teachers in mathing
mhm.
and getting them engaging in the mental actions of mathing, and then step out and talk about the pedagogy and what they've been doing and how to teach that way.
Yeah. And so why does that matter? Well, we have to acknowledge that many of the teachers who are in classrooms today have not had the experiences that we're talking about. They were
Mm-hmm.
probably very often taught pretty traditionally. And frankly, it's unfair to have them teach what we're talking about without giving them experience of what that can look like and sound like. And even more so, they deserve to know mathing the way that we're describing for their own personal lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, nice. All right, let's shift a little bit. So that was to leaders. So teachers, I'm really clear that several of these speakers that I'm talking about were excited. They were like, let me tell you what I've learned. I've
Mhm.
learned that if I get some conceptual understanding, man, everything makes more sense. I'm able to, well, in fact, we're going to talk about this on an episode coming up, Kim, we were just planning. I'm able to read word problems better because I'm actually understanding the concepts better. And so everything's making more sense. It's a whole lot less guess and pick and stuff and it's more I'm understanding. I love that. I love the fact that could be part of a journey to realize that if we get conceptual understanding, algorithms make more sense. I invite you to consider there's more to mathing than that. That there isn't this weird dichotomy, this weird split, this weird separation of content or of conceptual understanding, procedural fluency. That there it's not there's let's get some conceptual understanding over here, and now we have kids perform these steps so that they can get answers. That mathing is actually logicking your way through using
Mhm.
real mathematical relationships and connections like
Yeah.
content, and yes, getting answers, but the
Mhm.
goal is to develop that kind of reasoning so that you own the math, you own the facts, and you own ways of getting there, and you have a dense connection, a dense web of connections
Mhm.
that you really actually own. So in class, we want you reasoning, not mimicking.
Yeah.
And sending the message all the time that math is figure outable. It's not, hey, let's do some conceptual stuff. And actually you can wait me out during this fun time because later I'm just going to give you the rules that you're going to mimic and get answers. Teachers, I invite you to consider that if there's ever been a time where kids go, just give me the rules, tell me how to do it, that you have probably inadvertently set up that they know they can kind of wait for that because you've, for whatever reason, well, and probably because that's the way we were taught, they know they can get away with not doing and not really doing any of the conceptual understanding part of it, or because they can get to, I'm just going to memorize stuff. Just give me the stuff to memorize. I'm just going to repeat it. I'm going to circle the answer. We're going to move on. That's what I know is going to matter here in class. We're offering an alternative.
So the students that we want to create who are reasoning rather than mimicking, why is that better? We would argue that because we need students to make sense of the world around them. We don't need mimickers. We have tools at our disposal. We need, in our world, thinkers and creators and problem solvers.
No, that's nicely said. Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if I can summarize all the things.
All the things.
Okay, so it's not in PD. It's not about, hey, let's do some things where I tell you the math, and then I tell you how I would actually do it with students. You're suggesting that we should experience math with our teachers, and then they can take that they've learned and help their students experience the math as well.
The only thing I would tweak in there is experience the math and the teaching.
Okay.
So it's not like, hey, teachers, go do the math and you walk out of the room, presenters, PD. You're actually, what's the word I want? Enacting the teacher moves.
Yeah, that you want them
to do. So they get a chance. Y'all, in the minute-to-minute decision-making, we rely on our personal experiences. And most of our personal experiences were teachers who had end goals of repeating steps of algorithms to get answers. Yep. And so we lean back on that. We need to give ourselves and teachers different experiences that they can lean back on. So in the moment-to-moment decision-making, when a kid says something, does something, reacts this way, the task goes this way, they can go, oh, well, I just experienced in my PD where the facilitator of the PD asked me just this question and walked away.
Yeah.
Or said, what are you thinking? And walked away. Or said, ooh, that sounds like what they were doing over in that group and walked away. Or, ooh, this feels familiar like the string we just did. I wonder if that could be helpful here, and walked away. Like now you've experienced moves that you could go, ooh, now I can draw on those experiences to pull into my classroom.
Yeah. We actually have another episode about knowing your beliefs that I shared recently because it's a great way to start the year. Just reminding yourselves, like, what do I believe? And in what I doing in my day-to-day work, is my belief showing in the actions that I'm doing? Okay. And so with students, we're not suggesting that it's about, hey, let's do a bunch of great activities and then tell them
to get you engaged.
Yeah, to get you engaged. And now we're just going to have to practice some algorithms because that's what you're always going to actually be using.
And make it cute and fun and musical and dance. And now I'm not saying we don't want kids physically involved. What I'm suggesting is getting them physically involved in rote memorizing and mimicking procedures is not the goal of math class.
Yeah. So what we really want is to help students recognize relationships and then use those relationships to develop strategies and help them determine when to use those strategies in the work that they're doing, not only in math class, but in their life.
And those are the mental actions of mathematicians. And if this is your first episode, we invite you to listen to some other episodes where we actually do some math and talk about teaching. We'll do some more of that in future episodes. But today, we just kind of wanted to dive in. You might think that when you go to a featured speaker presentation at a conference and you hear somebody say, do some conceptual understanding so that then you can do this goal of rote memorizing and mimicking, you might think we fall in that camp, and we don't. So we invite you to just know that. And maybe if you're curious about that, keep diving in. Then what do we mean and what does that look like? And how can we help kids math the way mathy people actually math? Y'all, thanks for tuning in and teaching more and more real math. To find out more about the Math is Figureoutable movement, visit mathisfigureoutable.com. Let's keep spreading the word that math is figureoutable. Okay, y'all, did you hear the announcement? Workshop registration. The math is figure outable. Building powerful mathematics workshops are registration is open now.
It's in these workshops where you will learn all the things you need to make math more figure outable. Select your workshop at mathisfigureoutable.com/action.
Kindergarten through 12th grade educators, we have a workshop for you. Build your numeracy, learn the teacher moves, equip yourself with the knowledge you need to have students naturally engaged in their learning. No matter what grade level you teach, we have a targeted workshop just for you.
Find your best workshop at mathisfigureoutable.com/action.
Y'all, if you think this podcast is good, it's all audio. You want to be involved in the full experience where you can see the modeling and the teaching happening. Let's change the world together and make math more and more figure outable.